I'm going to tell you this video will shock your conscience.
It's this disturbing video.
Help! Help!
Showing Aurora officer John Haubert pistol whipping a man 13 times.
Get on his face!
And threatening to pull the trigger.
You move, I will shoot you!
That moved us to delve into the troubled record of the officer wearing the body cam. A criminal record Chief Vanessa Wilson says she knew nothing about until after she released the video.
I'm made aware of that charge yesterday morning. I have no control over any basic applicant. That is a Civil Service Commission question.
Which begs the question, how was he hired? Given a badge to protect and serve, even though he had a misdemeanor on his record for getting drunk and pointing a shotgun at his roommate. Should someone with a gun charge be able to be a police officer?
I don't think so.
I do have concerns with a prior gun charge.
That officer absolutely should not have been hired.
To understand how it happened, we have to go back to 2018. That's when Officer John Haubert first became an Aurora officer. As you heard the chief say, the city's Civil Service Commission made the decision to hire him, not Aurora's chief or anyone in the department. Do you believe that the police chief should have some say in new hires?
I do think the police chief should be involved in that.
Curtis Gardner serves on Aurora City Council. He also chairs the Public Safety Committee.
It's coming forward at our Public Safety Committee to find out how it was that he was hired.
As that investigation continues, Gardner says he's pushing for change to Aurora Civil Service Commission, a 5-person board with a lot of power and the final say on all new police hires.
And that's why I think we need to find out what we knew and when we knew it.
We reached out to the current Civil Service Commission and were scheduled to do an on-camera interview. But Chair Jim Weeks backed out at the last minute. The city said a former commission knew about Haubert's record and hired him anyways. It also says there's no evidence they ever talked to his former roommates, who accused him of being drunk and pointing a gun at one of them.
I do have concerns, though, if a past Civil Service Commission knew about it and still made the decision to hire this individual.
We did some digging to find out more about those former commissioners, and here's what we uncovered. They had a wide range of backgrounds, from teaching to firefighting. One even served on the Aurora City Council. They all had 2 things in common. They lived in Aurora, and they were registered to vote. And what about the current board? We were surprised by what we learned about 2 of the commissioners. Harold Johnson was fired from Denver Fire in 2015 and lied to council about it earlier this year. But with a heated 6-5 vote, council decided to give him a second chance.
We found out that he lied on the application, he lied in the interview.
I'm on the side of letting him have a chance.
There's 5 yeses and the motion does not pass.
The wife of Vice Chair A.J. McDonald actually worked for the city when he was appointed by council. She was later hired by Aurora Police. We also took a closer look at the commission's background investigators. As the name implies, they do the background checks on the officers before they're hired. There are 2 married couples in that group, something Councilman Juan Marcano says should never happen.
It's extremely troubling to me. And there are other ethical requirements for various branches of government where that would not be allowed. And the fact that it is allowed for our civil service is shocking to me.
The city tells us the couples aren't in supervisor roles and are hired as part-time contractors.
I don't think that we should have folks who are related, even if they don't supervise one another.
Denver 7 Investigates also discovered new recruits don't meet with anyone from the police department until their first day on the job. Do you see the need for changes with the Civil Service Commission?
I do.
Going back to our question about how Officer Haubert was hired, all officers have to be certified by Colorado's Peace Officer Standards and Training, also known as Colorado Post. Colorado Post told us the misdemeanor Haubert pled guilty to is not one that would keep an officer from being certified.
It's a system problem.
John DiCarlo is a former police chief turned law enforcement expert at the University of New Haven. He says Officer Haubert's record should have been a red flag.
Maybe politically or legislatively that should be looked at.
It's so very important that we have accountability with these law enforcement officers.
State Representative Leslie Harrod has led the charge for police reform in Colorado. Do you believe the law needs to change in terms of what charges allow an officer to be post-certified?
It's definitely something that I will look into, but there needs to be an audit of who is working for you in your law enforcement agency.
A review of who's wearing a badge.
Don't shoot me, please! Stop burning!
To try to prevent another officer from going too far.
I'm concerned that there are more officers like this that continue to be on the streets in Colorado.
Dude, you have a gun pointed straight at your head.
It's hard to forget this video.
Get on his face!
An Aurora police officer pistol whipping and choking a suspect.
We're disgusted. We're angry. This is not police work.
It's created a firestorm of finger pointing within the city of Aurora.
There's certainly a lot of transparency that needs to be added to the process.
We're all aware of what happened on July 23rd.
Jim Weeks is well aware of the controversy.
We've taken a hit in terms of public confidence, and I hope we can restore that.
As current chair of Aurora's Civil Service Commission, Jim Weeks leads an independent 5-person board. They're tasked with hiring all new police officers.
We have a lot of power, we have a lot of responsibility, and we know it. And our job is to exercise it as wisely and ethically as we can.
It's a commission made up of community members and appointed by council, a group now taking heat for decisions of a previous commission.
Stop moving!
That board of 5 hired Officer John Hobbart, the cop whose own body cam captured the choking and beating.
You move, I will shoot you!
A cop who had a criminal record when he was hired.
They were very conscientious and competent commissioners.
Do you think it's fair to say a mistake was made?
They applied their best judgment, and there might have been an error in judgment in terms of their final outcome.
Criminal records show this misdemeanor under Hobbart's name for getting drunk and pointing a shotgun at his roommates. But as Denver 7 Investigates has reported, there was no evidence any of the commission's investigators questioned Hobbart's roommates before giving him a badge and a gun.
I don't know what happened there. That would have been enough for, I think, any commission, not just us, to say this is a DQ situation.
And here's the problem. Weeks says the prior commission didn't have all the information. He wants to make sure that can never happen again.
I would say that was basically a one-of-a-kind situation, and we haven't repeated it.
Do you embrace the need for change?
Of course. Every process can be improved. We're not status quo, we're not stuck.